Okay, guys, good morning, everyone. Screen is not connected. Okay, we have left with few more concepts in testing. So now let's discuss about the test plan and test strategy document. Okay, so these are the activities. Test plan document and test strategy document, it will be prepared by test lead. So the test plan document, it will be prepared in the first week itself. Suppose the sprint duration is 2 weeks. In the first week, the testers, they will work on preparation of test scenarios. During that time, the test plan, the test lead, he will work on test plan preparation document. So the test plan preparation document, it contains several sections. Okay. So the interviewer is asking, can you please tell me what a test plan contains? What is a test plan? Okay. So this is what he will ask. Okay. Did you involved in test plan? So this kind of question they will ask. If they will ask the test plan document, it is taken care by our team lead. But some portions of the data I also updated in test plan. So like that you have to tell. And what a test plan contains, you have to explain everything. Okay. So a test plan contains introduction section, project objective or project overview. So as part of this project, what are the functionalities we are going to deliver? That thing will be highlighted in the introduction section. Okay, project overview, introduction or project overview. So as part of this release, what are the new functionalities we are going to deliver? So the release objective, it will be mentioned in the introduction section. And second point, testing scope. In scope and out of scope section. In scope means what are the functionalities we are going to test. So we are going to test this payments module. We are going to test this billing module. We are going to test this database testing. We are going to test this API testing using Postman. So what are the, so in scope means what are the functionalities? What are the list of user story numbers that we are going to test? So what types of testings and what are the various number of user story number? For each user story, they will give some unique number. So these are the user stories number he is going to test. And as part of this project, the testers is going to do functional testing, database testing, Postman API testing. So all that is articulated in the in scope section. Okay, so such information, it will be updated. Smoke testing, sanity testing, regression testing, all these part of in scope. So what are the types of testings? What are the number of user stories we are going to test? That section, it contains in scope section. And out of scope section contains what we are not supposed to do. So what we are not doing. So that section, it will talk about out of scope section. Suppose for this project, there is no API testing. We are not responsible for API testing. We are not responsible for database testing. We are not responsible for performance testing. We are not doing security testing. Okay, we are not testing payments module. So whichever things that you are not doing, you need to clearly call out in the out of scope section. So in scope section is describing what you are doing as a testing team. Out of scope section is describing what we are not doing as part of our testing. Okay, so we are only doing functional testing, but we are not doing non-functional testing, database testing, reliable security testing, and we are not doing this integration module functionality. We are not using Postman. So whatever you are not doing, you have to clearly call out in the out of scope section. Okay, in scope means what are the things are in scope. Out of scope means what are the things are not part of this testing. Okay, right. So here list of requirements number, user stories number, all these things we need to describe in use. And it contains various sections. See the section names: testing input, BRD, FRD, documents approval. So the first section, so it talks about the test lead will write the user stories document. It will be approved by BA, business analyst. It will be approved by the product owner. So that only testers, they will write preparation of test scenarios and test cases. So these documents, it has to be finalized. Okay, so such a line of code, it will be described in the testing input documents. So the test, according to start our testing, the documents, it has to be ready and it has to be finalized, and the reviews and all process, it has to be completed by the client, so that testers can start their testing. So testing input means before starting the testing, so the product owner he has to give all the finalized version of documents. So that is the expectation. And types of testings and execution. So what are the smoke testing, sanity testing, regression testing? Functional acceptance testing means new user stories testing, sanity testing. So what types of testing that you are going to do? Cycles of testing, cycle 1 and cycle 2. So what is meant by cycle 1 and cycle 2 means in sprint 1 there are 200 new functionalities and 800 new user stories. Total how many? 1000. So 1000 test cases you have to complete in sprint 2. Means in second week 1 and week 2. Sprint 1 means week 1 you have completed all the 200 test cases. Week 2 you have to complete all 1000 test cases evidences. But you completed all the 1000 test cases within 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And Thursday, Friday, let's do one more round of cycles of testing. So that is called second cycle. So whichever test cases got failed, let's execute only failed test cases. Don't execute already passed test cases. Cycle one is let's target all the test cases. Cycle 2 is let's execute only failed test cases. Along with the failed test cases, let's pull some other test cases, whichever that you suspect. Let's pull those remaining test cases so that we can get thorough confidence. We can get confidence on the build. So whichever areas that is going to be impacted as per your knowledge, just pull additional test cases which is already passed. So it could be some projects they might follow cycle 1 and cycle 2. Some projects they might follow 3 rounds of testing. Cycle 1, cycle 2 and cycle 3 as well. In cycle 2 if something got failed, let's move cycle 3 of testing on Friday. Okay, so how many rounds of testings that we have to do and what is the approach? Cycle 1 we are targeting all, cycle 2 we are targeting failed plus impacted areas, and cycle 3 let's move all the things. So most of the projects they might follow cycle 1 and cycle 2 strategy. And test data. Who is the responsible for tested data? Means once you log into Orange HRM application or bank application, there should be some sampling of data, it has to be there. Otherwise, you cannot able to test the account numbers or contact numbers, order numbers, policy numbers. To test some application, there should be some sampling of test data, it has to be there. Otherwise, we cannot do. So the sampling of test data, it has to be loaded in the test environment prior to starting of your testing. Okay, so that activity, it will be done by support team or development team. So they will they will connect to some database. Let's dump all this data into environment so that testers can able to test the data. But some cases the developers or support team, they might not load the data. In such cases, you have to create your own orders. You have to create your own policies. You have to create your own account numbers. Okay, the account number is active, the account number is terminated, the account number is closed. So you have to create. You have to navigate various functional flows and you have to create the test data by yourself. Got the point? Test data means nothing but input data, whatever you are entering into the application. If input data is not ready, in case you have to prepare your test. You have to prepare the test data and you have to use the test data for your testing. What is the test data? People will ask. Test data is nothing but input data, what you are entering into the application. And responsibility matrix. So writing of test cases, testers is responsible. Test plan and test strategy, responsible person is test lead. Reviewing of test scenarios and test cases, internal team and external team, BA and design team. Test deliverables, whole testing team is responsible. Okay, and test completion certificate, test lead is the responsible person. And so whatever activities are there, For each activity, who is the responsible person? Okay, whom they have to reach out. Okay, so daily dashboard reports, execution reports. The responsible person is test lead from the testing team. Who will conduct defect triage calls daily? Who will conduct Scrum ceremonies meetings? Scrum master. Okay, so all these activities, who is the responsible person? It will be there in the document. So these sections of data, it will be updated by the test lead. Responsibility matrix means who is responsible for which of the activity. Testing tools. What are the testing tools that we are going to use? We are going to use HPALM or Jira tool to log the defects, or you are using, if it is automation, Selenium, Java, and Eclipse. So whatever tools you are using, just mention in that testing tool section. Test environment. In the test environment, you have to make sure the application URL is ready and it has been given by test support team or development team, and make sure all the user credentials, suppose sales rep, manager, admin, support users, all the login credentials are perfectly working fine or not. So the test environment login details and application URL access, all it has to be described in the test environment section. Whenever the build will come in the second week of Monday, you no need to go and ask the application URL somewhere. You can open this test plan document. There the application URL will be there. So, and whichever user credentials you want also, you can take it from this test plan document, and you can use that user ID and password for your test. Okay, so test environment means it contains all the login credentials information and also application URL information. And defect management, severity and priority levels. So how the defect management approach. So we already discussed how the defect lifecycle flow it will. So the test lead will update all the defect status, who is when it will go new, when it will go assigned, when it will go closed. So all this information, it will be updated in the defect management approach. Test criteria. So test criteria means there are mainly entry criteria and exit criteria. So in test plan document, most of the interviews people asked me about entry criteria and exit criteria. These are the questions I had faced. Okay, what is meant by entry criteria means prior to starting of your testing, what has to be ready. So to start your testing, what needs to be ready? What needs to be ready? FRD documents, FSD documents has to be signed and approved documents has to be ready. Okay, and test scenarios and test cases review has to be completed. Okay, and smoke testing has to be completed. Okay, this is called entry criteria. Smoke testing, before going into the functional acceptance or regression testing, entry criteria describes before going into the actual testing. Okay, so all things are ready or not, entry criteria. So unit testing has to be completed. Unit testing means who will do unit testing? Code testing. So unit testing has to be completed, and FRD documents has to be signed off, and test scenarios and test cases has to be signed off. Okay, all the unit testing and smoke testing has to be completed. So all these things, it will be mentioned in the entry criteria. Okay, exit criteria. So whenever I am exiting from the testing, means when I will execute properly. So once after completion of 2 weeks span of time, okay, what has to be satisfied? So end of the day, so on the last day, what has to be satisfied? It has to satisfy all the planned test cases of new functionalities. 200 test cases has to be completed, and all the existing functional test case execution has to be completed, and there should not be any S1 or S2 defects. There should not be any P1 or P2 defects. Okay, so if there is any S3 or S4 defects, it has to be discussed and communicated with the clients, and you have to take formal approval. There is no impacts other areas. Okay, such things it has to be described in the exit criteria. What the point? Entry criteria means what's supposed to be ready. BRD documents, approvals. Okay, unit testing has to be completed, smoke testing has to be completed, test scenarios and test cases review has to be completed. All these things, entry criteria. Exit criteria means before exiting, means on the last day, what it has to be satisfied. all the planned test cases of progression and regression test case has to be completed. There should not be no S1 S2 defects. There should not be no P1 and P2 defects. If there is any S3 or S4 defects, it has to be communicated to all the project stakeholders, and you have to take formal approval before it going into the production. There is no major impacts, so that these features it will go into production. Exit criteria describes before stopping the testing, before completing the testing, what has to be ready and what we are giving to what the client has agreed. The client has agreed these terminologies. You have to complete all my testing, and you have to, there should not be no S1 and S2 defect. How you will do your approach? My end date is this one. Before accepting the build, the exit criteria must have to satisfy. Okay. Communication plans. Communication plans means if some defects got not agreeing by developer, how you will you communicate it? Test plan and test strategy document, how you are communicating. So you are sending a mail. Defect triage call. You are coordinating a daily defect triage call meetings. Agile Scrum ceremonies. Daily we are having a stand-up calls, get together in the office. Okay. So communication plans. Is it a Zoom call? Is it a Teams call? And what is the schedule? So is it a mail approach? Is it a mail approach? Is it a communication call? So how the communication is happening? What is the communication plan? It has to be described. So you are connecting through Zoom, or you are connecting to Microsoft Teams, or you are connecting through emails. Okay, are you connecting directly in the office premises? So that communication plan you have to describe. And the next one is very important: test assumptions, dependencies, and constraints. Assumption: I am assuming all the test data will be loaded in the test environment. My assumption is, so all the test data will be loaded by developer and support users. User role credentials, it will be given by support team, because sometimes you cannot create user role setup. So user role setup, it will be given by the support team or developers. So the assumption is you are not creating the users. The users will be given by what are the credentials that you supposed to use. Those credentials it is giving by whom? It is giving by development support. So that is my assumption. Okay. So whatever our list of assumptions that you are assuming as part of this project release, all the assumptions you have to write it. Suppose there is a database testing you have to do. So the database testing credentials, it will be provided to testing team by develop. So development team will help. So that is my assumption. Okay. Whatever testing team is assuming from other side, so that you have to articulate clearly whatever assumptions. And the dependencies. So dependencies means, suppose you want to test the application integration module. So you have other components, it has to be up and running. Then only the testing will be completed. Suppose whenever you are doing billing payments modules, so other components like net banking, HDFC banking, bill payment services, all the other side components also, it has to be up and running. If the other components are not up and running, you cannot be able to proceed your testing. So in the dependency section, to complete my testing, these components has to be up and running. So this is my dependency. To start my database testing, the database has to be accessible for the testing team. The database credentials and accessible to the testing team. Then only we can able to do. Dependency. We have to, in our systems, it has to be Chrome browser latest version. It has to be installed on all systems. Okay, dependency. Whatever dependency is there, let's call out all those things. Constraints. Constraints means if this will happen, then only I can able to do. If this is not ready, I cannot able to do. Whatever constraints are there. Suppose automation testing team telling if there is alternative test environment, then I can able to progress my testing perfectly. So if that is a constraint for automation, let's give alternative environment. So the automation team, they are added one point in constraint. If there is no alternative work environment, we could not able to complete all regression testing. So constraint is to start automation testing, alternative test environment is required for automation testing team. So if this is ready, then only I can able to do. If this is ready, then only I can. So that test lead, he has to update assumptions, dependencies, and constraints. This is very important section because client will particularly focus on all these activities. And risks and issues. Risks means sometimes what kind of risks might occur in the project. So generally, what kind of risks it will occur? Suppose you have week 1 you completed all your test scenarios, and week 2 you have to complete all the test cases. But there is an S1 defect had been logged by one tester, and the development team, they have taken 3 days to fix that issue. Because of that issue, how much time we have lost? 3 days of time we have lost, and we could not able to complete all 900 test cases within 2 days. So that is a risk. If defects are not fixing on time, it will be impacted project deliverables and testing deliverables. So you have to chase with the development team, and you have to make sure that defect is fixed. The S1 defects are fixed within same day. So that kind of risks it might occur. Sometimes whenever you are doing testing, the application is on clicking of every module, it's taking long time. So to complete one test case itself, it is taking half an hour instead of 2 minutes. Instead of 1 minute, it is responding after 5 or 10 minutes on clicking of every button. So application is having performance issues. Application is having performance issues. So in that case also, we could not able to progress our testing. Okay, and it will be impacted our test deliverables. Sometimes, see, during the COVID time, all the companies got shut down. So how the business continuity plan will be happened? So sometimes there will be some earthquakes. So earthwaves, it will come. So how it will be done? The things will be? So that kind of issue, how the mitigation plan, how we can overcome. So if something happened suddenly in the office, is there any work from home approach is available? So mitigation plan, it has to be described. If one environment is down for testers, is there other alternative environment available for testers? Okay. So for each risk, if the S1 defects got stuck, what is the immediate mitigation plan and what is the immediate action plan? So all these things, it has to be described in the risks and issues section. Okay. So particularly client will go through the risk and what is the mitigation plan suggested by test lead, it will be mentioned in that section. And the test schedule. Test schedule means, so see, these are the test deliverables. First, before coming into the test schedule, test deliverables. Test deliverable means what we are after completion of my testing, what are the things I am going to give to the client, because client is paying so much of amount. At the end of the day, I have to give. So let's take all this. I have to give some handover to the client. So what is the end output we are giving from our side? So we are giving test plan document, test strategy document. These Word documents got prepared by our test lead. On the last day, not on the last day. So whatever things that we are delivering from testing team, all these things needs to be handed over to client. So the client is expecting test plan document, test strategy document, RTM document, and system and integration test cases, whatever test cases you had written, because those are useful how to navigate to different functional flows for him. And regression test cases and test status reports, daily status reports, weekly status reports, and monthly status reports. He can come to know whether we are able to complete all the testing on time or not. And test schedule document and test summary report. So test completion certificate. So all these deliverables the client will expect, okay, from testing team side. And what is test schedule means, for every activity start and end date. So for test plan, when it has to be supposed to start and when it has to end. Test strategy, when it has to be start and when it has to be end. RTM, what is the start date and what is the end date. System integration test cases, what is the start and end date for the new functional test cases. And regression test cases, what is the start date and end date to complete this testing. And what is the status reports, what is the start date and end date. Let's publish all this report in sprint from Monday to Friday. Test schedule, so test schedule describes what is the start date and end date for each activity. Test summary report, so test completion certificate and whatever information, what is the start date and end date. So test schedule means this one. Sir, nobody had told me when I have to write my testing, when I have to complete my test cases, nobody told me. So I have taken this complete week. Even test lead also he didn't told me when it has to be completed. So you should not come this kind of situation. Okay. Whenever this, what is the deadlines, it will be clearly called out in the test plan document. Okay. Suppose I had given 3 user stories. The test lead, he won't come. Let's finish all these 3 user stories by this Friday. He won't tell. According to him, in the test plan document, these 3 user stories will be completed. Test scenarios and test case preparation will be completed by Wednesday. That's it. And Thursday reviews, internal and external reviews. Okay. Friday test environment access credential checks. So start date and end date it's mentioned. So your day, you are assuming he has given time up to Friday, but ideally it's not like that. Okay. So the start date and end dates you have to refer from test schedule section. Okay, but you didn't told me when it has to be completed. Don't ask such kind of these questions. The start date and end dates will be there in the test schedule section in the test plan document. And control procedures. So how the defect life cycle, what is the defect severity and priority. So all these definitions, defect triage call meetings. Okay, and what are the how many number of S1 defects, how many number of S2 defects, and defect aging reports. Okay, such information all it will be described in the control procedures, all defects related information. So this all information, so the test plan contains from the project release point of view. So we can say the definition. What is a test plan? Test plan is a high level design document. Test plan is a high level design document. It will be prepared by test lead. The test plan contains project release objective, and it contains in scope and out of scope sections, and it contains testing input documents, types of testing, cycles of testing, responsibility matrix, test environment. Just to read out all the headings, that's it only. Okay, test criteria contains entry and exit criteria, communication plan, test assumptions and dependencies. Just if you read out that header sections, that's enough. No need to explain each and everything in the detail. Okay, but if you want to explain in detail, just refer my video whatever I'm telling. But you don't have that much time to explain that one. If it is a test lead, he can able to talk continuously on the test plan document. Generally, test plan and test strategy document. So who is having 5 years of experience in their resumes, we will keep the point as having very good experience in preparation of test plan and test strategy document. But 4+ years you no need to mention. But in the interviews, people are asking, can you please explain what is test plan? Test plan is a high level design document. It will prepared by the test lead. So it contains project release objective, and all other planning activities will be described in the test plan document. Okay. Understood everyone? Test strategy document. Test strategy means, so for a particular project, what is the testing approach, the way of testing approach that you are following. Okay, so for this project, how the test, so previously is planning activities. So test strategy describes the way of testing for this particular project. Okay, so my project is, so what are the way of approach? Test preparation and planning approach. Okay, and test development approach means writing of test cases approach. Okay, are you referring some old test cases? Are you referring how the test case that you are going to develop? And the test environment setup approach, what are the activities? Test execution approach, and test status tracking and report. So all the SDLC pages, what are the, in each page, what is the approach the testing team is following? So in terms of preparation, in terms of test case writing, in terms of test environment setup, in case of test execution, so in case of status tracking and reporting. So some people, they might follow PDF reports, some people they might follow Word document reports, some people they might follow Excel reports. Okay, test status and reporting, some people they might use HPALM, some people they might use Jira tools, some people they might use Microsoft Azure DevOps for logging the defects. Okay, so what is the approach that you are following in each phase? So you can just read out these points, that's enough. Okay, so this is called a test strategy document, describes the way of testing approach for a particular project. Okay, the way of the way of testing approach for a particular project, the test strategy describes. Okay. So test strategy, I'm not explaining, just you can read out, because these all points are already discussed, each and every point I'm not discussing. So these two sections of these two Word documents, it will be prepared by test lead. Okay, now let's come back to what are the things are left or pending. So test estimation, risk-based testing, block box, defect parameters, test case attributes, scenario template, module, unit testing, exploratory verification, waterfall model. Okay, about your current project explanation, how you need to tell, we will discuss in tomorrow. Okay, about your current project. Developer is not a, why you choose test scenario versus test cases. Okay, daily dashboard summary. Daily dashboard summary contains how many test cases passed, how many test cases failed. So such information, how many defects has been logged by testing team by. Okay. Contingency plan and mitigation plan. A contingency plan is to put place to reduce the business risk, the faster disaster recovery, and to ensure smooth execution of business process. Okay, so how the faster disaster recovery? So the contingency plan always talks about something happened in the organization. Okay, suddenly because of COVID, some unexpected firing was happened. Okay, how the things, but the so it is to reduce the business risk and fasten disaster recovery and to ensure smooth execution of business process. So what we have to follow? So system recovery on alternative platform, backup media and internal and external connectivity. So if server got completely lost at one place, let's the server backup from other location. So like that. So this is called contingency plan. Mitigation plan means in mitigation we can take preventive measures. So in advance, preventive measures to reduce the likelihood of the risk, to reduce the impact of the risk in case it occurs. So what is the mitigation plan? So in advance, what is the things that you are going to do? Contingency plan means if something already happened, then how the business will be continued. Mitigation plan means this is going to be happen, then this is our plan. This is going to be happen, then this is our plan. This is going to be happen, then this is our plan. Okay, so just people are asking what is contingency plan and what is mitigation plan. Just you need to explain the definition. So contingency plan and mitigation plan, these things it will be described in the test plan document. Okay. And one more thing is left, top-down approach. This point I can tell you in tomorrow's class. Okay. So I'll okay.
Suppose if picture is working fine. So we are testing for 10,000 records, and in the estimation for further estimation, then maybe we can also test for 20,000 records. So does this come under mitigation plan, like how much?
No, I didn't understand.
Suppose we are testing a feature set of a particular product.
Particular feature functionality we are testing.
Yes, sir. But for that feature, 10,000 users are allocated.
10,000 users.
It is working fine, but in further estimation done by some EA team or design team, there may be a possibility of 20,000 records also. So does risk
that is completely about performance testing, load testing. Load testing means non-functional testing team is taking care. We are a functional team. Our objective is whether this particular functional flow is working or not. That's it. Okay.
But suddenly we got a issue in that feature. It may impact these 10,000 users or 20,000 users.
That particular functional flow is not working. So that is the thing. The developer has to fix it immediately, or we should stop the release. If developers is unable to fix, okay, let's hand over this project to some other company. That is the reason only project layoffs and company layoffs is happening.
Does that come under risk mitigation?
Mitigation plan, how mitigation? Mitigation means what is the solution you are telling. Suppose mitigation plans means for every thing, what is the alternative thing? Suppose the environment got completely down, test environment. The mitigation plan is let's target this application in another environment. Okay, let's use the code is down in test environment 1.com. Let's same build is the same code is available in test environment 2. So immediately we got a mail from Scrum Master, guys, please do all your testing on test environment 2.com. Mitigation plan is already described in the test plan. Something went wrong. What is the other solution, other mitigation plan? So that it has to be, if one defect got logged, okay, the entire testing got stopped. So the mitigation plan is the developers must have to fix that issue within 1 day, otherwise it will be affected. So it can be taken, it has to be fixed. That's it only. There is no other thing. Okay. So we have completed everything. So tomorrow's class we can discuss about top-down approach. Okay. So as I said, in this whole week, I'm going to describe. We are going to revise manual testing topics. Okay. Okay. Now let's start from each and every tab from beginning. Okay. So it's like complete interactive session only. Okay. Now let's start from the beginning, from test defect life cycle. What is the defect life cycle? Can anybody, online people or offline people? What is the defect life cycle, guys? That's so how you have to explain in the interview is important. When we execute the test cases, if there is any mismatch between expected result and actual result, then we will log the defect. Perfect answer. Yeah.
When I log the defect,
Initial
status is new status.
When we log the defect initially, defect status is in new status.
Defect is assigned to the
Defect is assigned to the developer. సో మీరు ఇలా ఆలోచిస్తా చెప్తున్నారు అనుకో, ఇంటర్వ్యూకి ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ పీపుల్ మాట్లాడినట్టు ఉంటుందా? అదే మీరు ఫ్లో, ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ టాకింగ్ ద, ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ టెల్లింగ్ ద ఆన్సర్ కంటిన్యూస్లీ, సో దే కెన్ అస్యూమ్ యు ఆర్ అన్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్. I logged defect new, and after that I assigned to developer. If you are telling like this, the interviewer won't get satisfied. You have to show your confidence, and you have to show your commanding on the explanation. Okay, you know the answer. I know that you know the answers, but whenever you are going to the interview, you have to show your commanding. Commanding means you have to tell that concept thoroughly. So how I am telling now, you have to tell each and every question, you have to practice like that. When I log the defect, if there is any mismatch between expected result and actual result, then I will log the defect. The defect status is initially new status. Whenever it is got assigned for the developer, it will be in assigned on open status. And whenever the code fixed by the developer, then it will be in fixed status. When the code is migrated from development environment to test environment, the defect status is in pending retest. How I am telling? Am I thinking and telling? The complete diagram in my control. Okay, commanding. You have to show your commanding. Okay, that is the difference, and that is the thing only lagging for everyone. Because of that reason, 90% of the people interviews are getting failed, because during the interview time you should not think and tell. Prior to the interview, you have to, if defect life cycle, if they ask, you have to start your flow and you have to finish it. Don't think and tell the answers on fly. Okay, so when the defect is in pending retest, I will retest the defect, and I can close the defect. In case if defect is not working, I will change the defect status. I can change back to failed retest. I will assign the defect until that issue comes for fixed and closed. Okay, assign back to the developer, and I can ensure until it is properly tested and closed. Sometimes the defect can be rejected as well because of test data are not able to replicate. Sometimes the defect can be default even though the defect is valid, not fixing in the current release, might be it is targeted for next releases. So such case the defect status will be default. నా క్వశ్చన్ లో ఎక్కడైనా గ్యాప్ వస్తుందా ఎక్స్ప్లెనేషన్ లో? అలా కమాండింగ్ గా మాట్లాడితేనే యువర్ ప్రొఫైల్ ఈస్ 3 years experience, 4 years experience, 2 years experience. Okay, see now a guy is telling answer like this because 90% of the people are telling like this answers. Why most of the people are failing in the interviews means defect is initially new status and defect assigned for developer assigned status and defect comes for fixed and after that it will come for testing, it will be pending retest. Means your answer is just like a begging. You know the concept. Okay, so get commanding on every question. Understood the point? If you are showing your command, definitely that interview will be clear. If you are showing the answer just like a begging, your interview will be in question mark one. Okay, that is the difference. 90% of the people are failing. Prior to the interview, you should be ready what you have to tell. Okay, now let's come back. What is priority and severity? The interview is asking, in every interview people are asking me, okay, what is priority and severity?
Priority indicates how much impact of failure on functionality.
So మీ ఎక్స్ప్లెనేషన్ ఎలా ఉందో తెలుస్తుందా? ఎలా ఉంది ఆలోచించుకొని సివియారిటీ ఇండికేట్ నాకు తెలుసు, మీ అందరికి తెలుసు అని ఆన్సర్. కానీ కమాండింగ్ ఇప్పటి నుండి మీరు చేయాల్సింది ఏంటి? యూ హ్యావ్ టు షో యువర్ కమాండింగ్. నేను ఇట్లా క్వశ్చన్ అడిగేలోపు మీ దగ్గర సివియారిటీ ఇండికేట్స్ హౌ మచ్ ఇంపాక్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఫెయిల్యూర్ ఆన్ ద అప్లికేషన్ అండ్ హౌ సివియర్లీ ద డిఫెక్ట్ ఈస్ ఎఫెక్టింగ్ టు ద ఫంక్షనాలిటీ. నేను చదవబట్టే కానీ నాకు దగ్గర ఆన్సర్ ఉంది. నేను ఇలా చెప్పలేదు అనుకోండి, మీరు కూడా మీ నాలాగే మీరు కూడా చెప్పడం అలవాటు అయిపోయింది. ఓకేనా? So severity is nothing but how much impact of the failure on the application and how severely the defect is affecting the functionality. S1 critical, a number of test cases got blocked and I cannot able to progress, then I will give S1 critical. S2 high, a specific important functional flow is failed. S3 medium, a medium functionality was broken. S4 low, there is a cosmetic errors like spell check, alert prompts, alignment issues which is not stopping the functionality, then I will give S4 low. If I'm talking like that, okay, my voice is very high pitch, okay, so the interviewer 100% he will get impressed. But if you are thinking and telling, okay, lag is coming, okay, because of this lag, because of this lag your interview is getting failed. Okay, you have to see, whenever I'm asking any of the question, you won't see any lags in my explanation. Just observe that point. Okay, I am having more than 7,000 interview experience. So if you want to see my interviews also, daily interviews are happening in the institute, right? So you can see my interviews. For at least for one question also, there won't be any lag in my explanation. That is the secret. Means like that I had prepared answer for every question. Okay, so you also have to be prepared. Anyway, this document I can show you during the interview time. The question and answer is on the screen. When the moment interviewer is asking, I am showing this document to you. So you have to, prior to the interview, if you are already prepared, that flow it will come very easily. Okay, but if you are depending the answer on runtime, you some lag and it will come. Got the point? Okay, what is the priority? How much urgency is required and how fast that defect can be fixed. Priority indicates time to fix particular defect. Priority indicates time to fix particular defect. P1 critical means it has to fix within same working day. P2 means it has to fix within 2 working days. P3 means it has to fix within 3 working days. P4 low means it has to take 4 or 5 working days. Simply priority indicates how much impact of indicates how much time it indicates. Okay, na? So flow ఎలా ఉంది? అవతలోడు మాట్లాడతాం, మనం ఛాన్స్ ఇస్తామా? మనం ఛాన్స్ ఇవ్వకూడదు. వీ హ్యావ్ టు టేక్ కంప్లీట్ కంట్రోల్ ఇన్ మై హ్యాండ్. ఓకేనా? అది సో ఒక ఐఏఎస్ ఐపీఎస్ ఇంటర్వ్యూకి వాళ్ళు ఇంత నాలెడ్జ్తో వెళ్తారు, ఇన్ని ఎఫెక్టివ్స్తో. వాళ్ళు ఏ ఇయర్స్లో ఎప్పుడు పాస్ అయ్యారు ఏంటి అనేది వాళ్ళు ఇంత ఐక్యూ డేటా ఉంటుంది. మనకుంది ఈ లిమిటెడ్ క్వశ్చన్సే. ఓకేనా, ఈ లిమిటెడ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ చదివారు అంటే త్రూఅవుట్ మీరు ఈ వరల్డ్ ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళినా మీరు టెస్టింగ్ జాబ్స్ కొట్టేస్తారు. ఓకేనా, అది. సో ఇప్పుడు నేను ఈ ఎజైల్ స్క్రమ్ మెథడాలజీ నా కమాండింగ్ మొత్తం చూపిస్తాను, ఎందుకంటే ఎజైల్ స్క్రమ్ మెథడాలజీ ఇస్ డిసైడింగ్ మై ఇంటర్వ్యూ. నేను చెప్పాను కదా నిన్న వెబినార్ లో. సో యువర్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ విల్ బి డిసైడెడ్. మాన్యువల్ టెస్టింగ్ అంటే రెండు క్వశ్చన్స్, డిఫెక్ట్ లైఫ్ సైకిల్, ఎజైల్ స్క్రమ్. ఈ రెండు రాలేదంటే నా ప్రకారం డిలీట్, లెట్స్ త్రో ఇంటర్వ్యూలో బయట మెంపైట్ చేయడం అండి. ఓకేనా సార్, ఎజైల్ స్క్రమ్ మెథడాలజీ చాలా పెద్దగా ఉంది సార్, నా వల్ల కాదు సార్ అన్నారు అనుకోండి, మీరు అక్కర్లేదు, రూమ్కి ఇంటర్వ్యూకి వెళ్ళాల్సిన పని లేదు, మీరు ఎవరిని అడగాల్సిన పని లేదు, ఏ ఇంటర్వ్యూకి కూడా వెళ్ళాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. ఓకేనా, ఎజైల్ స్క్రమ్ నేను చూడకుండా చెప్తాను చూడండి. ఇన్ అవర్ ప్రజెంట్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ వీఆర్ ఫాలోయింగ్ ఎజైల్ స్క్రమ్ మెథడాలజీ. ఎజైల్ ఈజ్ ఏ కంటిన్యూస్ ఇటరేషన్ ఆఫ్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అండ్ టెస్టింగ్ ద సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఇన్ an incremental approach. So in Agile Scrum, we are getting the requirements in the form of user stories and acceptance criteria. So in Agile Scrum, we are having 2 sprints. The sprint duration is 2 weeks span of time, and monthly we are having 1 release. And so whatever user stories that we are getting, we are preparing, we are going through the test scenarios and test cases. We are taking the sign off from BA team, and the final version of test scenarios and test cases we are uploading into the SharePoint. And there in Agile, we attended various kind of ceremonies: sprint planning meeting, sprint review meeting, retrospective meeting, and daily scrum call meeting. So attended all these kind of ceremonies. Coming to daily scrum call meeting, it's a daily stand-up call conducted by the scrum master. So each and every person has to update the project updates, okay, what they are doing to the scrum master. And coming to sprint planning means importing of the user stories from the release backlogs to sprint backlogs. It is also hosting by Scrum Master. The testers will do efforts for various user stories in sprint planning meeting. Sprint review meeting, whatever activities is performing by team, and so internal peer reviews and external reviews will be done by the sprint as part of sprint review. Retrospective meeting, once after completion of every sprint, the retrospective meeting is conducting by Scrum Master. It is a release feedback session. So in this meeting, all the BA team, design team, development team, all the teams will be participated. So the Scrum Master, he will discuss what are the problems faced, what are the challenges faced, what we can do better, so that the best lessons will be implemented for the next sprint. And in Agile process, the main artifacts are sprint backlog items, product backlog items, and markdown down charts. And the main team in the Agile process is product master, Scrum Master, and team. అయిపోయింది. ఎంతసేపు మాట్లాడాను అర్థమైందా? ఎక్కడైనా ల్యాగ్ వచ్చిందా నా క్వశ్చన్ ప్రిపరేషన్ లో? ఎంత స్ట్రాంగ్ గా ప్రిపేర్ అయ్యి ఉంటే మీ క్లాస్ లో ఎలా చెప్పగలుగుతున్నాను? వితౌట్ సీయింగ్ ఆన్సర్ అంటే ఆ కమాండింగ్ మీలో రావాలి. ఈ కమాండింగ్ వచ్చింది అంటే మీకు ఆ క్వశ్చన్స్ కొన్ని ఉన్నాయి. సో దెర్ ఆర్ సమ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు షో యువర్ కమాండ్ 100%. డిఫెక్ట్ లైఫ్ సైకిల్, డిఫెక్ట్ సివియారిటీ అండ్ ప్రయారిటీ, అండ్ ఎజైల్ స్క్రమ్ మెథడాలజీ. ఇంకోటి రిగ్రెషన్ అండ్ రీటెస్టింగ్, స్మోక్ అండ్ శానిటీ టెస్టింగ్. Okay, these 5 questions you have to show your commanding whenever the interview. So interview ఎప్పుడు అడుగుతాడా అని మనం వెయిట్ చేస్తుండాలి. ఓకేనా, సో యూ హ్యావ్ టు షో యువర్ 100% అటెన్షన్ ఆన్ దీస్ క్వశ్చన్స్. సో ఎజైల్ స్క్రమ్ మెథడాలజీ ఎలా చెప్పాలో అందరికి అర్థమైందా? ఇస్ ఎవ్రీవన్ క్లియర్? ఈ రికార్డింగ్స్ బాగా రివైజ్ అయ్యే రికార్డింగ్స్ బాగా ఏనండి. నేను ఎలా చెప్తున్నానో ఆ ఫ్లో మీరు చెప్పగలిగితే యూ కెన్ గెట్ కాన్ఫిడెన్స్. అలా కాకుండా ప్రతిదీ ఎజైల్, స్ప్రింట్ ప్లానింగ్, స్ప్రింట్ రివ్యూ ఇట్లా అంటున్నారు అనుకోండి, ఇంకా ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ లేదనే కదా, వాడు బుక్ లో చదివాడనే కదా. సో ఒక కమాండింగ్ లాగా మాట్లాడాలి, ఒక ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ లాగా మాట్లాడాలి అంటే మన ఫ్లో ఎక్కడ ఆగకూడదు. యూ షుడ్ నాట్ స్టాప్ వైల్ యూ ఆర్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయినింగ్, అండ్ యూ షుడ్ నాట్ థింక్ అండ్ టెల్. ఓకే, ప్రయర్ టు ద ఇంటర్వ్యూ యూ హ్యావ్ టు ప్రిపేర్ ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీ కాన్సెప్ట్. Then your flow will come automatically. Okay, so what is mean by smoke testing and sanity testing? ఇప్పటిదాకా నేను ఒక 5000 ఇంటర్వ్యూస్ లో స్మోక్ శానిటీ ప్రతి ఇంటర్వ్యూలో చెప్తానే ఉన్నా నేను. ఓకేనా, సో వాట్ ఈస్ స్మోక్ టెస్టింగ్ అండ్ వాట్ ఈస్ శానిటీ టెస్టింగ్ చెప్పండి ఎవరైనా. సో ఇప్పటిదాకా క్లాసెస్ అయిపోతున్నాయి కదా. సో నవ్ ఆన్వర్డ్స్ వాట్ ఈజ్ యువర్ జాబ్ అనేది అర్థమైంది కదా. సో నేను రివైజ్ చేయకపోతే మీకు ఏమైందంటే సబ్జెక్టు కోర్సు అయిపోయింది, నా ట్రైనింగ్ అయిపోయింది. కానీ మీకు రివైజ్ చేయటం నా ఉద్దేశం ఏంటంటే మీకు ఎలా ప్రిపరేషన్ చేయాలి, మీరు ఇంటర్వ్యూస్ లో ఎలా మాట్లాడాలి అనేది మీకు హెల్ప్ఫుల్ అయింది అనమాట ఇప్పటి నుండి ప్రతి సెషన్. ఫస్ట్ టైం ఈజ్ న్యూ టు ఎవ్రీ వన్. బట్ ఫస్ట్ టైం మీరు ఏ రోజు చెప్పిన రికార్డెడ్ క్లాసెస్ మీరు చూసి అదే రోజు మీరు చదివి ఉంటే ఓకేనా, మీకు ఈజీ అయిపోయింది. క్లాస్లో టాపర్స్ ఎప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తారు, ఏ రోజు చెప్పిన నోట్స్ ఆ రోజే చదువుతారు కదా చిన్నప్పటి నుండి. సో మనం ఇప్పుడు ఇది జాబ్ కాబట్టి మనకి ఎవరు చెప్పేవాళ్ళు ఉండరు ఇప్పుడు. ఓకే, యూ హ్యావ్ టు బి ప్రిపేర్ బై యువర్ సెల్ఫ్, దట్స్ ఇట్. నోబడి విల్ బిహైండ్ యూ. ఓకే, మీకు వెనకాల ఎవరు ఉండరు. సో మీకు టైం ఆబ్వియస్గా మీరు చెప్పకపోతే ఏమైంది, అది 1 year అయినా 2 years అయినా జాబ్ ఎలా కొట్టాలో తెలియదు, ఒక 3 years అయినా కూడా జాబ్ ఎలా కొట్టాలో తెలియదు. సో నా సీక్రెట్ అలా ఒకటే లేదు, ఇంటర్వ్యూ నా ఎదుర్కొన్నాడంటే నా ఫ్లో ఆగదు. ఓకేనా, అది వాళ్ళు ఏ క్వశ్చన్ అడుగుతారా అన్నట్టుగా నేను వెయిట్ చేస్తుంటాను. అది సో నాన్ స్టాప్ నా ఫ్లో వెళ్ళిపోతుంటది. ఓకే, సో నేను ఈ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఆన్సర్స్ అన్ని మీకు స్క్రీన్ మీద చూపిస్తాను. మీకు అలా ఫ్లో రావాలి అంటే ప్రయర్ టు ద ఇంటర్వ్యూ అట్లీస్ట్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు ప్రిపేర్ అదనమాట. Smoke testing is a build verification testing. Whenever I will get the build from the development team, first I will do smoke testing. As part of smoke testing, I will check all the login access and I will check each and every module access is perfectly working or not. Just I will do smoke tests for every module. It's nothing but smoke testing. Okay, coming to sanity testing. Sanity is a detailed build verification testing. Evananu? Sanity is a detailed build verification testing. Why? Because from every module, I am picking 1 or 2 planned test cases and I am executing those planned test cases. And after that only I am confirming the build stability. Okay, so if the build is stable, I can go for the next testing. If the build is not stable, the build will be rejected and I will inform to the development team. Okay, so that is nothing but sanity testing. As part of sanity, there will be planned test cases, but as part of smoke, there won't be any planned test cases. So both are build verifications, but smoke testing we can complete it within short span of time. But sanity testing, it might take 2 hours or 3 hours span of time because it's a detailed build verification testing. You are preparing also test execution evidences. You are picking 1 or 2 planned test cases, important test cases from every module, and you after that only you are confirming the build stability, which modules that you can able to test it, which cannot be tested. Okay, so prior to proceeding your regression testing or new functionality testing, we have to do these build verification testings. So some projects lo smoke okate cheyochu, some project lo sanity okate cheyochu. Some projects they might follow smoke and sanity. Okay, so nowadays people are following, most of the cases people are following sanity testing approach. Clear everyone, smoke and sanity ante? Okay, first line we had completed. Defect life cycle SDLC, STLC ఉంది, అది రేపటి క్లాస్లో డిస్కస్ చేద్దాం. ఓకే, రేపటి నుండి ఒక పని చేయండి. ఓకే, సో నేను ఇవాళ ఫస్ట్ది సెకండ్ది టార్గెట్ చేయబోతున్నాను రేపటి క్లాస్లో. ఫస్ట్ సెకండ్ది థర్డ్ది రేపటి క్లాస్లో నేను టార్గెట్ చేయబోతున్నాను. సో బిఫోర్ అటెండింగ్ క్లాస్ ఫర్ టుమారో, ఓకే, లెట్స్ ప్రిపేర్ బై యువర్ సెల్ఫ్ సో దట్ యువర్ ప్రిపరేషన్ విల్ బి ఇట్ విల్ బి హెల్ప్ఫుల్ డ్యూరింగ్ ద ఇంటర్వ్యూ టైం. ఓకే, సో నాకు కూడా సెషన్ చెప్పేటప్పుడు నాకు కూడా ఈజీ అయిపోయింది. ఓకేనా, సో go open this testing document, click on each and every tab, let's see how your preparation is going. Okay, so because this week we are closing all the manual testing topics. ఈ టాప్స్ అన్ని మీరు క్లియర్ గా ఆన్సర్ చెప్పగలిగారు అంటే యూ కెన్ ఏబుల్ టు క్లియర్ ఎనీ ఆఫ్ ద మాన్యువల్ టెస్టింగ్ బై యువర్ సెల్ఫ్. ఓకే, సో టెల్ మీ ఇక్కడ అబౌట్ యువర్ కరెంట్ ప్రాజెక్ట్. About your current project, I am going to tell you on Wednesday's class. Okay, Wednesday and Thursday class లో ఇది వెరీ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఒక మాన్యువల్ టెస్టింగ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ ఎలా చెప్పాలి ఇంటర్వ్యూస్ లో అనేది నేను వెడ్నెస్డే థర్స్డే క్లాస్ లో చెప్తాను. సో ట్యూస్డే అండ్ వెడ్నెస్డే వీ కెన్ టార్గెట్ ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీ టైమ్. ఓకే, somebody is pinging. Okay, so everyone is clear on the topics. Okay, so we have only left a top down approach. This is the question. So anyway, we will cover it by tomorrow's class. Okay, that's it for today's class, guys. 1 second.
Actually, testing HTML file I didn't receive.
Okay.